All right, guys, this is a special one for us. This next man has been on our bucket list of guests that we wanted on the show forever. His resume speaks for itself. One of the most decorated UFC heavyweight champions, an icon for many. The Maniac, Tim Sylvia. It is with great honor that we welcome you finally to Submission Radio. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. It'd be easy just to say to get an interview from me is to say you guys are from Australia because we love to hear you guys talk.
Appreciate it, man. Well, yeah, obviously this has been like a bucket list thing for us, and obviously we wanted to chat to you for such a long time. So appreciate that we could coax you into jumping on the program, man. Thanks for jumping on with us. There's a lot to chat about. Obviously, you've got a huge career, and we want to kick it off sort of early on from the very beginning, back to 2000, when you sold all of your belongings. You joined Team Miletich. For those who don't know, I mean, there's all-stars there, guys like Jens Pulver, Matt Hughes, Jeremy Horn, Robbie Lawler, who's fighting next week, and a lot of other guys. You guys were famous for having these like historic battles in the gym. I'm curious, man, how different was the training back then to what you would find at sort of like a typical MMA gym today in 2023?
Oh, it's definitely not the same. There's a bunch of pussies now. The guys doing it now want to do it. They're doing it to become famous or think they're going to get rich out of the deal. We were doing it for fun. We were just hardcore, rough guys that like to fight. And a lot of us are doing it for free in our first of our career just because we love to fight, you know? Now people think that you're going to become movie stars or celebrities like Conor McGregor if you do it. And that's not the case.
I got to ask, man, like how crazy did the sparring get? Do you have any memorable moments that stand out from you from back in those days, training with the guys?
My first knockout in the room was at the racquetball court, and I hit this guy with an uppercut, and it knocked him out. He face planted at my feet, and I'm looking at him. We have yellow wrestling mats for Iowa colors, and all of a sudden, this red pool of blood starts dissipating from his face.
Holy shit!
And it looks like a murder scene, and I'm like, my voice cracks as I yell for Pat. I'm like, Pat. And he's like, cool, what'd you do? I'm like, I just hit him. He flipped him over and grabbed some paper towels for his nose. The kid's name was Kenny Nyquist, and I'll never forget it. And the next day he came in and he had 3 bruise lines on his nose from where I wrinkled his nose while I hit him with that uppercut and broke his nose. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. But that was my first knockout in the room. And it was a little scary for me because I never seen it. Look at, in a murder scene you see on TV where people die and all of a sudden the blood just starts from like a 1-inch circle and it just expands this huge circle. That's what happened with him, and it kind of freaked me out a little bit.
All right. Well, good thing that Kenny came back the next day and definitely at all. I was going to ask,
alive.
Did anybody ever get you good? Did you ever I don't know if you got knocked out in training, but did you ever have any like close calls? Because obviously, like you're 6'7", you know what I mean? Yeah. It's a different story with you.
The closest time I ever got knocked out in the training room was Rothwell kicked me in the head. Ben Rothwell.
Oh wow! And
when he kicked me, all I heard was that song from AC/DC, Hell's Bells. When that song first hits, is like, wong, 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 wong. Yeah. I'm like, what? And I stumble backwards. I'm like, dude, I have a fight in like 3 weeks. What are you doing blasting me in the head? I'll never forget it. I was pissed off.
What fight did you have coming up?
What's that?
Which fight was coming up?
Man, I don't even know. I know it was in the summertime because we all went in early that night because I got WWE tickets in Peoria to go hang out because I was good friends with Batista.
Oh,
and
nice.
I knew we went in the gym early to go work out, and it was like me, Ben, and a few other guys. I took like 5 guys, and Spencer with me. I know I took 5 guys to the wrestling match with me, and but I can't remember what fight I had coming up. I want to say it was Munson fight, bro.
Oh, wow.
That would have been, because I fought Munson in the fall, so it could have been Munson. Maybe it was Brendan Vera.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, crazy. And then obviously Rothwell ended up fighting Brendan Vera as well, but yeah, that's nuts.
Did he?
Yeah. Rothwell, he got a big knockout against Brendan.
I don't remember that.
I think it was like much later. I think it was like when Vera moved back up to heavyweight.
Heavyweight?
Yeah. It was.
Are you guys 100% positive he fought Vera?
I think so. Well, now you're making me question myself. You know what?
They fought at UFC 164. That was on the 1st of December 2013. Believe it or not, Ben got that knockout, like Casper said, round 3.
Yeah.
He got a knockout over Brendan Vera, yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember him fighting Brandon.
Yeah. It was later.
career.
It was like sort of later in Brendan's career. I was going to ask you, man, like I know you mentioned how like nowadays, obviously there's a lot more money and fame that comes with MMA and you guys are sort of doing it for fun. What was kind of like the ultimate goal or the ceiling for you when you first got into it? Like best case scenario when you envisioned like, all right, I'm going to get into this and I'm going to do X. Like what was it? What was the biggest thing that you were hoping to do?
My goal was just to get into the UFC in general, just to get into the UFC. That's why I moved to the Miletich campus. I wanted to find better training partners and better management. And my goal was just to get into UFC. So that happened. And then all of a sudden they want me to fight for the title. So I was like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, everybody wants to fight for the title, but it just happened so fast that, I was like, okay, well, yeah, let's do it. And I happened to win, so it worked good in my favor.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. But before we do, I just want to bring up another guy that was in that Miletich training room, and that was Robbie Lawler. You had a young Robbie Lawler in that training room. And, of course, next weekend, he's going to be finishing out his fight career. I just want to know, like, what does it mean to you to see Robbie go on to have such a great career and, like, seeing this last fight of his happen next weekend?
Well, we all kind of took Robbie under our wing as like the little brother, because we're all in our 20s and we had this 18-year-old who's an absolute animal in the room, and it's nice. It's nice to see Robbie. He's had a really, really good career. He's had some amazing knockouts, and UFC champion, Strikeforce champion. I mean, he's done really well for himself. So I'm happy for him. He's always been a great guy, great kid. I shouldn't say kid, he was in his 40s now, but, he was just always like a little brother to all of us. So
from the outside looking in, Robbie's like a bit of an enigma. You know what I mean? He's not like the biggest talker. He does all his talking in the cage itself. Any funny Robbie Lawler stories that you can recall?
Oh, man. Lots of funny Robbie Lawler stories. That was kind of pretty much our camp in general. That's just how none of us really talked a lot of crap. It was just, we let our performance do the talking. Man, I put me on the spot trying to think of Robbie Lawler stories. I can't really think of one right off the top of my head at the moment.
All good, man. Well, if it pops into your head during the interview, just interrupt us. We'd love to hear it. Because I want to jump. I want to jump to UFC 59. Reality check. That's when the UFCs used to have names. Everyone used to have a name. And I used to always think about the marketing department for every event, because surely they got to a point where they just ran out of ideas and they're like, reality check, that works. But you TKO'd Andrei Arlovsky to become the UFC undisputed heavyweight champion, sir. And I got to ask you, what was that night like for you? And when you think of that night, like what stands out the most to you?
It was a repeat of me fighting Rico in that fight. So when I fought Rico, as I don't know if you guys know this, but every title fight, the challenger and the champion, they get their own locker rooms, they get hotel suites, and they get an extra room boarding your suite for your tournament and stuff like that. Well, I didn't get any of that when I fought for the title the first time. I was basically just a guy in there that was supposed to lose this fight and go on about my way. Well, I went in there and I spoiled the plan and I knocked out Rico, and which was great. So then when I, defended against McGee, I got all that stuff, and then I think when I fought Mir, I got all that stuff, and then I lost the first time, I got all that stuff. Well, then that time I didn't get my own locker room. I didn't get my hotel suite. It just felt like a reminisce of the first time fighting for the title. And then, I wasn't supposed to win. Everybody thought I was going to lose, and I go out there and I knock them out in pretty good fashion. So it meant a lot more to me that time because I had to earn my way back up to the title shot after losing it the first time.
It felt like you sort of always had a bit of a chip on your shoulder. And I wonder, like, that's basically only about 6 years after selling all your stuff and betting on yourself, essentially, taking a big chance on yourself. When it paid off that big, how validating was that for you?
Yeah, it's impossible to put into words, but, it's, actually, is it Israel Adesanya? Is he the middleweight champion,
Israel
right?
Adesanya, yeah, middleweight champion.
he just did a textbook speech on it one of his last fights, and he grabs the mic and he's like, I want every one of you to feel this at some point in your life. This is just like this feeling is amazing. Don't give up on yourself even when you're counted down and stuff like that. This feeling, you all deserve to feel this feeling once in your life. And that was definitely it. He nailed that on the head, especially when it comes to fighters and fighting for world titles and stuff.
Now, I got to ask, Tim, we know at this point, when you become the UFC heavyweight champion, you must have a bit of a relationship with Dana at the UFC. Like, he must be getting a little bit closer to them because you're one of their key champions. I want to ask, like, at that time, did you think you'd be in the UFC for your entire career? And what was your relationship like with those guys when you first kind of got that belt?
At that time, it was great. Yeah, I mean, everything was great. Things were going good. I thought I had great relationships with everybody, but, as time goes on and things happen, it just doesn't work out that way, especially when you're very opinionated. And I have a hard time being a yes man, no man type of person. I say what's on my mind and I don't really back down from anybody.
What at that point, what was sort of the tipping point? What was the main, for fans who don't remember, what was the main thing that you were sort of vocal about, or where it all broke down?
I think a lot of it, is fighter pay and how you treat it and stuff like that. They expect you to do all these appearances and do it for $200 or $300 when you're doing outside appearances and you're getting paid, $5,000 to go to some local fights in Tennessee where they fly you first class and put you up and stuff like that. The UFC wants you to do all this stuff for free for them, and they give you, like a per diem for $250. It's like, man, it's like, this just isn't cutting it, guys. I can make more money doing my appearances on my own and doing stuff for you. The breaking point for us is when Brock Lesnar got brought in. We were ref for contract negotiations, and I asked for more money and they wouldn't give it to me. I asked for pay-per-view buys, they wouldn't give it to me, and I was basically plateaued at 100 no pay-per-view buys. And we find out Brock Lesnar comes in with one fight under his belt, and they gave him $350 and $350. And I'm talking $350,000 and another $30,000 to win, and he gets pay-per-view buys. So he's going to make, win or lose, he makes over $1 million a fight. I was only making $200,000 a fight. So I'm like, look, this isn't cool, man. I was like, well, you don't have the draw that Brock Lesnar does. I'm like, is this MMA? Is this WWE? I'm like, okay, well, I got a plan for you guys. Let me fight Brock Lesnar, and if I win, I get his contract. If I lose, I go back to 100. No more bitching about paying nothing. Like, no, we can't do that. He's not ready to fight someone like you. We're trying to build him and stuff. And I was like, well, release me from my contract if that's how you're going to treat me,
Well, you famously went over to Affliction, right? And they paid you, and I'm not sure if this was accurate or not, but apparently around $800,000 to fight Fedor. It was a huge fight at the time. And for a lot of people that watch MMA now, they might not know, but Affliction was kind of on their way to becoming the next big organization in MMA. I got to ask you, like, do you ever think about what would have happened if you would have stayed in the UFC rather than making the move to Affliction?
That just wasn't in my cards. I wasn't a happy employee. I was a disgruntled employee, and the UFC screwed me over once again with that whole thing with Affliction. They bought out everybody's contract, and except for mine, they wouldn't do it to me because I left the UFC and went to Affliction. They didn't honor my contract. They honored everybody else. They had the Affliction contract. So it is what it is. I was making more money outside the UFC. I was making more money outside the UFC than actual heavyweights in the UFC.
Is it fair to say that, like, there's no regrets from your end, like, regardless of, obviously, like, it was a tough loss, the Fedor one, but you kind of did it your way? Is that kind of still how you view it?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't perform that night. That's all. I think, if I fought Fedor again, I would have beat him. But I didn't perform that night. I got caught, and I didn't perform. It happens. I didn't perform the best of my ability when I fought Nogueira. When I fought Randy, I was injured. It's just, things happen. There's fights I should have took him when I did take him, when I had injuries and stuff. But it is what it is. I wouldn't go back and do anything over again, really.
Gotta ask, man, that Brock Lesnar fight, man, it would have been so good to see that fight happen. When you think about how that fight goes,
I think I stuffed his takedowns and I knocked him out. Back then, I think I would have done exactly to him what Cain Velasquez did to him. What Who's the other monster heavyweight? Alistair Overeem. I would have done the
Oh,
same
yeah.
thing with the. I had better takedown defense than Alistair Overeem did. I think I would have done the same thing.
It was a crazy time, man. I wonder though, right? Like, so obviously you stood up for what you believed in. The key there was like fighter pay and stuff. Are you surprised that fighter pay is still such a like hot topic in 2023 as it was back then? And there's been not a ton more movement.
No, I'm not surprised at all. I know the organization and the people running it, and they're greedy and they just don't care.
I want to know, like, when you see Francis Ngannou stand up, leave the UFC to get a fair deal at PFL, and in a way, him kind of dealing with similar issues that led you to leaving back in the day as well. What was your reaction when you actually saw him being able to go over to PFL, get that deal, get a fair payout for him, and more importantly, his opponents as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's impressive. It's awesome. I'm glad he did it. I'm glad he stood up for himself, but I don't know if it was a mistake for him or not, because I know they offered him a really, really, really good deal in the UFC. And some of the stuff he was asking for, I don't understand why it was necessary to be part of the board and all that stuff. I mean, I don't know. I think he would have. I don't know. I mean, I'm glad he did it. It's cool he had the balls to do it. It would have been better if they could have got like 5 of the 5 top champions to do it all at once. Because I thought he was pretty good friends, with Izzy and with I don't think
Kamaru
was a
Usman.
champion.
No, he's not anymore, but yeah, gotcha.
Those 3 were pretty tight, and it would have been awesome if they just stepped aside and said, "Hey, look, this is the way it is." I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he made the right choice or not. If he gets one big fight in boxing, he's taking care of it the rest of his life. That's a big if, Well, I think if he UFC, he might have had that opportunity because the UFC did it for Conor McGregor. But Francis Ngannou's not a big draw, and he did well, but I don't know. He's not the greatest heavyweight of all time. He thinks he is. So,
who would you say is the greatest heavyweight of all time?
Of all time, Fedor. But right now, Stipe is. Nobody's come close to his record. I think Stipe is a better fighter than Francis. I think if they fought again, Stipe beats him. I think Jones beats. I don't think Francis is that good. He's a monster, heavy hands, but his punches come from his hips, and he swings wild and crazy. He hits you going to sleep, but a technical fighter like Jones and Stipe, they beat him again. Stipe beats him. You saw what he did to Gane. He wouldn't even stand up with him. He took him down. It was an ugly fight, and I don't know. He talks a lot for only winning a fight and then defending against Cyril Gane.
So you think, I was going to ask you that, you think this dream fight between Ngannou and Jon Jones, you're picking Jon Jones pretty dominantly in that one?
Easy.
I gotta also ask you this, because, I know that you're retired now, but when you watch Francis fight, you must think back to like, hey, if this was, me in 2006 or me in 2010, how would that fight would have gone?
In my prime, if we fought right now, he beats me. But in my prime, if we could go back in time and I'm in my prime, he's in his prime, I destroy him. He's too wild. I was more of a technical striker than he is.
Yeah, it would have been crazy to watch, man. Speaking of wild, don't let your nose hairs get wild. Don't let your ears hairs get wild. Use the Manscaped Weed Whacker 2.0 to tame those bad boys and make yourself the best version of yourself. It's got the skin-safe technology you've come to know and love. It's got the 7,000 RPM pure power motor. You don't have to worry about any nicks or tugs. It's got you covered. It's waterproof. It's got up to 45 minutes of battery. Look at this thing. Look how futuristic this thing is. Ever since I was a kid, I would watch those movies, those Disney movies where you'd have the rich guy, he'd have all the fancy gadgets, and they always had a nose hair trimmer. And I thought, man, that's elite right there. If I can grow up and own one of those, that's how you know you've made it. You can be the absolute best version of yourself. And best of all, it comes in Manscaped's Performance Package 4.0, the best value for money, and even better, 20% off with the code submission and free shipping. 20% off, code submission, and free shipping, baby. Makes a great gift for yourself or anybody else in the family. that you know and love. Isn't that right, Dennis?
That's right, man. And while you're saving money, why not check out this amazing deal from NordVPN where you guys get a huge discount plus 4 months for free today. And you guys can claim it right now and try NordVPN absolutely risk-free for 30 days if you go to nordvpn.com/submission or click the link in the description below. NordVPN is the best VPN out there, and you guys just know that that app is just so smooth and sexy. Sort you out. You guys can change your Netflix to any location, save money on flights, save money on purchases. Basically, watch geo-blocked location and unlock a world of privacy, security, and savings for you online. Go to nordvpn.com/submission now, Cass.
All right. With that said, Tim, I want to go back to you and just talk about like after the UFC, after Affliction, the Fedor fight. What was that time like for you, man? What was that period? I know, like, maybe not the ideal scenario, but when you're in the UFC or an organization like that, you have your home, you know where your next fight's going to be, you have some guarantees, but as a free agent, you're kind of out of the wild, wild west. You have to look for fights. You may only be in a promotion for 1 or 2 fights. What was that time period like for you and trying to find fights and just get around?
They were knocking on my door, all of them, and you get treated so much better. You know, them coming after you is a lot more beneficial than being just stuck in one place and under contract and stuff. You know, those other organizations, they're coming after you, they want you, and they're willing to pay high dollar for you, and they roll out the red carpets for you.
I wonder, like, take us into
the way the UFC should treat all their fighters.
Yeah, but I wonder, like, take us into that time, like that 2011 to 2013 period. I know, like, you're going through a few companies, you have some ups and downs when it comes to your performances, but I also want to know, like, behind the scenes, what was going on with you? What was your mindset? Did you know that you'd be retiring sometime soon? What was sort of going on?
I mean, you know, I was coming up on 40, you know, and, you know, the one thing you can't beat is Father Time. And, you know, my knees, my body's starting to give out on me, and I'm having struggling making weight and stuff like that. And I knew the time was coming that I could no longer, you know, run to cut weight and stuff like that. So, you know, I'm a big dude. I walk around. Well, back then I was walking around 300 pounds. So I was cutting 35 pounds every time I fought. And then, you know, now I'm 375. That's just, you know, when you're 47 years old, that's just what happens, I guess.
And then you tried to go back to the UFC at one point. Is that right?
We actually had a contract. They sent us a contract. They wanted us back after I put a big winning streak together. And the contract was...
What year was it? Just to remind us.
Whenever they bought out Strikeforce.
Yeah.
So they got me a fight. They asked me to fight DC. And we said yes. And then they guaranteed 2 more fights, win or lose, with the DC fight in the UFC, because that was going to be his last fight in the the last fight in Strikeforce altogether. And we agreed to it. It was a pretty good contract. I want to say it was and I want to say it was 80, 80, 90, 90, 100, 100 as long as I won. But yeah, we signed it. We sent it off, and they never sent it back. And Monty asked Sean Shelby, he's like, dude, what's going on with Tim's contract? He's like, yeah, Dana changed his mind.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I was sorry. I don't know if I can cuss on you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Thanks. I just said the F word. But yeah, that's what happened. It's like, here's the carrot, dangled over you, and yeah, and they took it away. I was. That's when I got really, really vocal, and I was really pissed off.
So, do you think
that was probably the biggest crushing moment of my career right there, that having that done? Because, you know, it's just like, at that time there was so many great fights for me in the UFC, and I didn't care if I ever fought for the world title ever again. That wasn't my goal. My goal was to go into UFC and put on shows for the fans. And at that time, we still had Chech Conlo in there, Pat Barry, Paul Bontello, who I just recently fought before that, knocked him out, Joey Beltran. I mean, there's 4 or 5 guys I can think of that would have been awesome stand-up war fights for the fans, because I ain't trying to take anybody down, and none of those guys are going to try to take me down. And it just would have been awesome fights for the fans. It would have been awesome fights to do. Just get in there and just start banging, and may the best fans stand up at the end of the round, really.
You can hear, like, the passion and how much that meant to you. Do you feel like you were sort of robbed of another chapter in your career, things that you wanted to show?
I really wanted to. Ideally, I wanted to finish my career in the UFC. That was my, the big home, and I wanted to. I was ready to come back and, eat some humble pie and keep my head down and just let my performances do the work. And a lot of times, I was taking shit. Sorry, I was taking context. Like Lorenzo, they thought I was like asking for more money and stuff, and I wasn't. It was like when they were in the locker room, they show up. I'm like, hey, get that checkbook out because I'm going for that bonus. But I might not have said I'm going for that bonus. I'm like, get your checkbook out, boys. And I don't know. I just didn't say it. And they thought I'm trying to ask for more money. I'm like, no, I'm going for that knockout night bonus. That's why I say get your checkbook out. So that was a long time ago. I'm on to new things now and loving life and enjoying this whole slap thing going on.
We'll talk about that in a second, but I was going to ask, did you ever find out why Dana did that or why he changed his mind?
From what I understand, they felt like it made them look bad because they talked so much shit about me that now all of a sudden, oh, well, we've talked all this shit, but now we're going to let them come back. So that's kind of what we got from it.
Have you ever had the opportunity to sort of like clear the air? I know it's a long time ago. I imagine like things are a little bit different. Have you ever had the chance to clear the air with Dana or any of those guys? Are you guys in any different place?
Never seen them. No, I've never seen him face to face, and I don't think I ever will.
Is it something that's important to you, like in terms of closure, or you've just kind of moved on at this point?
No, I don't care. I have nothing. I have nothing to say. We've all made our beds and we're lying in it. I mean, there's nothing else to say. I was a disgruntled employee, and they were shitty bosses, I guess you could say. I don't know, and that's obvious that's the truth because I'm not the only one that it's still going on here. They disrespect fighters all the time. Look at the way Dana's talk shit about Ngannou. I mean, he was supposedly the baddest man on the planet, and now that he left him, he sucks. That's just bullshit. Dana just talking shit, trying to make himself look better.
Well, I know that I speak for everybody when I say that I'd love to see you in the UFC Hall of Fame one day, and that you have to be in there. So hopefully the UFC understand how important it is to the fans to put you in there.
Matt in the UFC Hall of Fame. Why wouldn't I be in there someday? That guy's trash.
Well, we'd love to see you in there. Hey, Tim, before we go and talk about the slap fighting, I just got to ask you as well, your experience on being on Blind Date in the mid-2000s. Break it down for us.
The UFC put 5 fighters on that week. And they asked us, I was like, I don't want to do this, man. And it's like, well, we need you to do what we want you to. Another thing that you do for the UFC, and you don't get paid shit to do it. It's like, did
they pay you at all, or they paid you nothing?
Maybe like $250 per diem.
Oh wow!
I think Blind Date might have gave us like $800. I don't even remember.
That didn't even cover the ladies' drink tab.
No shit, she was lush. That pissed me off because they ask you for your ideal person. So I gave them my ideal person. They gave me the absolute opposite of what I'm interested in. And they do that on purpose. They do that on purpose so that the date is drama and it's because I'm like, I'm not a drinker. I don't like drinkers. I hate redheads. I want nothing to do with redheads. That's what my mom wants. And they bring me to a redhead. I'm like, you gotta be. I literally walked into the casino and I turned around and I go, absolutely fucking not. And I walked back out of the thing and the producer's like, Tim, what? I'm like, I'm not going on a date with this chick. I'm like, absolutely not. He's like, look, the UFC said you would. And I was like, yeah, but I told you what type of people I like. And this is not the type of person I like. And like, well, we really need you to do this. I'm like, whatever. Let's just do it and get it over with.
Oh man! So you're off to like a shit start from the very beginning. That's terrible.
Shit start right when I walked in.
Oh man, was there? I always wonder like how the editing makes like the final product versus your experience. Was there anything they didn't include, or how accurate was the final product compared to how it really was?
Yeah, I don't really know. I don't remember. I watched it so long ago.
Yeah.
There was. Yeah, the editing made it look like we were kind of getting. I don't know if Eddie knew we were getting along good or not. I don't remember.
Yeah,
like I said, it was so long ago, but it was just not my cup of tea, man.
I just remember watching it when I was, we were fans of you back in the day, and just be like, holy crap, Tim Sylvia's on this show. It's unbelievable. I know it made the rounds because everybody spoke about it for ages. So it was great to see.
I would have liked to watch the other guys because I know Wes Sims went on it. Josh Thompson went on it. I think Pete Spratt, and then a couple, like I said, it was 5 of us. We did it that week. All week, there was 5 fighters that did it.
Well, yeah,
but I never saw the other ones.
Yeah. I think your one was definitely the one that everybody watched and
I think I was the bigger name. That's
yeah. Huge name, and it's like, oh my God, he's on this program. That's crazy. All right, now let's talk about the slap fighting, man, because congratulations, you are ranked number 9 pound for pound for the Slap Fighting Alliance. People may not realize this, man, but you're having the second run at a different sport. How does it feel to be ranked pound for pound in the top 10?
Man, it came to a surprise when I saw that the other day. But I'm just like, man, they just must realize the caliber person I am, and I don't do anything half-ass. So, I've been training, and I developed some more power. We found some more power and a new technique on the way I deliver. So I'm really looking forward to showcasing that on Saturday. And this sport was built for me, man. I'm a big dude, and the power is the last thing it goes as you age. And man, I love it. I absolutely love it, and I just can't wait to do it again.
What drew you to slap fighting in the first place?
I've been watching it for years on social medias, and I just was like, man, this looks really fun, and people are like, you're crazy. And then I just happened like 6 months ago, I just commented on one of the things. I saw like a couple of super heavies, and I'm like, this shit looks fun to me. The promoter hit me up immediately, knew who I was, and asked me to come to Branson, Missouri and be a catcher for his next event, and I did, and I loved it. And I was like, I'd really like to try this. He's like, if you're serious, I'll book you a match. And that's what happened, and we saw what happened in that match.
What do you think about obviously all the criticism that comes with it? And you said you came up with a new technique. What is I guess something about the technique that people may not see or understand?
Yeah, I mean, the criticism is what this sport is where the UFC was 20 years ago. Everybody talks shit about the UFC 20 years ago, human cockfighting and all that, and this is just nonsense and so on and so forth. Well, I'm curious to see what's going to happen with this sport, 20 years from now. Yeah, there's technique, man. I got a coach that does this. He's had over 20 matches, and there's technique. It ain't just winding up and throwing your hand. You got this hand placement. It's rotating the hips, not pivoting on your feet. Following through and stuff like that, and you're going to see, if you watch my last match and you see this match, you're going to see a huge difference. And I really don't expect this guy to take more than one hit after I put this on him.
Gotta ask you, would you ever see yourself competing for Powerslap?
No.
I gotta also bring up the fight.
There would be a lot of things that have to come into play. One is I'm going to be brought in as one of the owners at Slap Fighting, so it'd have to be a co-promotion. I'd have to get a verbal apology from Dana White. I would have to be put into the UFC Hall of Fame immediately, and yeah, I don't see any of those things happening.
So you're saying there's a chance? For a second there, I was like, "There's an inroads, man. There's an inroads."
There's a chance for anything. I guess if Dana said $5 million, I'm like, okay, well, I can kind of bite my pride for $5 million. There's a lot of things that are taken into play, but I mean, the co-promotion is huge because, I don't know if you guys know, but a power slap, the coin flip, it takes place in the back, and no one knows. I mean, come on now, that's a little bit shady if you ask me,
right?
Because the guys my size, the coin flip's all. I mean, the first person that goes, if he can rock you, he's got an advantage. So I want to see that coin flip. That happens in front of me at the barrel.
Right, coin flip gate. Now you're taking on Grizzly on Saturday, which is Sunday here in Australia on Fight, so everybody can check it out. He's a 400-pound former pro arm wrestler. Break this down for us.
He actually just arm wrestled this week, I guess.
Oh wow.
Well, okay, so Grizzly's getting it in. Grizzly's doing a bunch of stuff. Grizzly's trying to still compete in a bunch of sports. This is Nemesis. This event is called on Fight. What could people expect from this? Because it's got fireworks written all over it.
I'm going to hurt this guy, plain and simple. Like I said, the new training I've been doing and the techniques I've evolved, I don't know where the powers come from. I'm surprised myself, so I don't think he can take more than one. So if you guys are ready to see me knock somebody out quick, you better tune in.
Well, I'll tell you, man, I can't wait to see it. Before we wrap, got to ask, is there anyone in MMA who you'd love to compete against in a slap fighting contest? There's so many legends out there. There's a lot of fights that we never got a chance to see you have. Is there someone that you'd love to stand across from, kind of scratch that itch a little bit?
No, not really, man. I don't have any animosity against any of my own opponents. Randy beat me, and
oh no, not Randy.
No, Randy's a legend. He's one of my very good friends, and I help him every year with this charity. And last year they asked us to arm wrestle, and we did, and I beat him. And I'm like, okay, bro, we're even now.
Yeah,
Stevens are done. But no, man, I don't care about. But there's some people out there I want to slap, and one of them is his name's Neanderthal, and he's the slap fight champion right now, and I think he needs a whooping, and I'm going to give it to him.
Oh wow, there you go. Well, then you've got Grizzly obviously this weekend, and then Neanderthal hopefully in the near future. Obviously, check it out on Fight July 1st. That's this weekend here in Australia and everywhere. Dude, Tim, thank you so much. Oh, and of course, follow Tim at Tim Sylvia MMA 1. Dude, thank you so much for your time. Honestly, you're a true pioneer and an OG of the sport, and just a huge honor for us to chat to you, man. So thank you so much for chatting with us.
Giving me your Skype handle and all that stuff, and we made it work. So
huge honor. Thank you.
I don't know if you guys get the Sportsman channel over there, but over here in the States we have a show on a channel. It's called the Sportsman Channel, and my hunting show is Hit Squad Outdoors with Tim Sylvia.
Oh, nice.
So if you guys want to see me shoot some deer and turkeys, and have my son go out there and do the same thing, and some friends, then check it out. Hit Squad Outdoors with Tim Sylvia.
Beautiful, man. We'll check it out. Happy for you, Tim. Thank you so much for your time, man. Good luck this weekend.
All right, thanks.